This is my place too, my brother argued while hosting a party in my living room. Not anymore, I replied, while Joshua changed the locks. Then I left them on my parents' porch and drove off. As far back as I can remember, I was always the one everyone in my family depended on. I was the person who stepped up whenever something went wrong. My brother and sister would joke and say I was the nice one, but now I realize they confused my kindness with being foolish. Tomorrow, that all ends. I've written out a notice to kick them out. My best friend Joshua is already staying over for support. Once I go through with this, there's no undoing it. Let me tell you how this mess started. It all began one Saturday morning around 2.5 years ago. I remember clearly because I was super tired from my job. Work had drained me. Those quarterly reports always leave me wiped out, and that week had been especially hard. I was looking forward to doing nothing, just sleeping in and maybe ordering food. No stress, no people, just rest. Then at exactly 7 a.m., my doorbell started ringing loud like a fire alarm. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but it kept going. So I got out of bed, half asleep, and walked to the front door. Standing outside were my brother Liam and my sister Julia, each holding a suitcase. I stared, completely confused, wondering if I was having a weird dream. Liam smiled like everything was normal and said, "Yo, we're here." His voice way too loud for that early in the morning. I rubbed my eyes, still half asleep. I noticed my parents' car parked near the sidewalk. I thought maybe they would come out and explain things, but nope. Mom gave a little wave, Dad honked twice, and they drove away like they had somewhere important to be. "What is happening?" I asked, still trying to understand what I was seeing. Julia just sighed and walked into my house without asking. Liam followed right behind like he owned the place. I stood there thinking for a moment whether I should shut the door and go back to bed, but my habit of being the one who always helps stopped me. Julia sat down in my favorite chair while Liam dropped onto the couch and kicked his shoes off. "Mom and Dad kicked us out," she said, like it wasn't a big deal. "They said we're 19 now and need to handle things on our own." "So why did you come here?" I asked, already feeling nervous about the answer. Liam stretched out on the couch like he was staying for good. "Because they told us you'd help," he said. "You live alone, no kids, no partner, in 2 bedrooms. They said it was perfect." I laughed, really laughed. "Wait, hold up, you're serious? They just dropped you off here without telling me?" Julia nodded. "Yep, Mom said you'd understand. And they told us you'd pay for our stuff for a while." Just then my phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. It was a message from my mom. It said, "Help them with money and support them for now. Thanks, love." I stared at the message and read it twice. I couldn't believe it. I honestly thought someone was going to jump out and yell, "Surprise, you're on a prank show." "Are you being serious right now?" I asked. "You don't even have a job." Julia just shrugged. "That's why we're here. We'll figure something out. Just a few months." I should have said no. I should have kicked them out right away. But something inside me didn't let me. Maybe I felt guilty. Maybe I was too shocked. Either way, I said, "Fine," but only for a short time. I kept telling myself it wouldn't last long, just until they got back on their feet. But life doesn't always go the way you plan. At first, everything seemed okay. I bought them 2 twin beds and fixed up the spare room. They said they were looking for jobs, but I never really saw proof of that. I gave them small amounts of money and kept paying all the bills. It wasn't perfect, but I thought we could handle it. Then things got strange. One morning, I walked into the kitchen and saw a man I didn't know making coffee. "I'm Aaron," he said. "Julia's boyfriend. She said it's cool if I stay here." He smiled like he lived there. The next weekend, Liam brought his girlfriend Samantha. They shut themselves in his room for hours. When I asked him about it later, he shrugged. "What's the big deal? You weren't even home." That's when the pattern began. New people kept showing up without warning. My utility bills shot through the roof. My place started feeling less like a home and more like a cheap motel. Anytime I tried to speak with them seriously, they either ignored me or acted like I was being mean. "Come on, Grayson. We're your family. Don't act so harsh." What made it worse was how my mom and dad acted like I was being too dramatic when I asked them for support. "You're the older brother," Mom would say. "It's your job to look after them. They'll sort themselves out soon." But soon became 28 months. Yes, 28 full months. And each one made me more tired and frustrated. So now I've decided, tomorrow it all ends for good. What was supposed to be a short stay turned into something that felt like it would never stop. In the beginning, I tried to stay calm. I told myself they were still young and just needed some time to adjust. But by the 3rd month, I knew something was wrong. Liam and Julia didn't even try to find jobs. They stayed in bed all day and hung out with their friends at night. I tried to set some basic house rules. Clean up your mess and don't invite strangers over. They'd nod like they agreed, then go and break every rule. Talking to them always turned into arguments. Once I came home and saw Liam playing cards in the living room with 6 people I didn't know. There were empty beer bottles everywhere and smoke filled the air. I got angry. "Liam, what is this mess?" I yelled. "Relax, man," he said, not even looking up. We'll clean it up after. You're not even allowed to bring people here without telling me first, I snapped. He grinned. It's my place too, dude. Don't kill the vibe. That sentence stayed with me. My place too. They acted like they owned my home. I made everyone leave that night, but Liam sulked for days like I'd ruined his whole life. Julia wasn't any better. She kept secretly bringing her boyfriend Aaron to stay over. I'd hear them yelling at each other at night. One evening I came back and saw a broken lamp and a huge hole in the wall. They said it was an accident, but I didn't believe them. I tried calling my mom and told her everything, how they were doing nothing, damaging my stuff, and letting strangers inside. Grayson, just give them some time, she said. They're still trying to figure life out. Mom, it's been half a year. They're not trying. They're just using me, I replied. She sighed. They're your brother and sister. Be a little kinder. I was already losing it, but then things got even worse. One night I got back from work and noticed something weird. The front door lock wasn't working right. After forcing it open, I walked in and saw Julia and Aaron sitting on the couch looking nervous. What's happening? I asked, looking around the room. Julia paused, then quickly said, we might have lost one of the keys. Lost the key, I repeated. What do you mean? When did this happen? Aaron spoke up. At a party last weekend. Someone must have taken it by mistake. I felt a chill go through me. You gave someone a key to my apartment? No, not really, Julia said quickly. We just had some people over and left the key on the table. I guess it vanished. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. For the whole next week, I was scared to come home. I had no clue who might have a copy of my key. I ended up paying a few $100 to get the locks changed. That's when I started planning how to escape this situation. This wasn't just about lazy siblings anymore. This was pure madness. But I had one big issue. I couldn't get them to leave. Every time I mentioned them moving out, they laughed like it was a joke. Oh, come on, Grayson. You know we're not ready to live alone. I felt stuck until one day something unexpected happened. Liam casually said that he and Julia wanted a bigger place to live. Something roomier than this, he added, as if my place wasn't good enough. An idea hit me. I stayed cool and said, you know, I've been thinking about moving somewhere better too. I might have a solution for you guys. They both looked excited. What kind of solution? Julia asked. It's a surprise, I said with a smile. You'll see soon. They were curious, and for the next few days, they kept asking me what I had planned. I gave them vague answers, saying I was working on something big. But in truth, I was making a plan to finally get them out. I told them to start packing because I was going to give them their very own place. They didn't believe me at first, but I kept acting like it was real, and eventually they fell for it. On a Saturday morning, we packed up the vehicle and headed toward our folks' home. The entire drive, Liam was buzzing with energy. Dude, I can't wait to check this place out. You really came through for us, Grayson. Oh, don't worry, I replied. You're seriously going to be amazed. When we arrived, they finally saw the truth. Our parents were standing outside waiting on the porch. Julia's smile dropped. Hold up. What is this? This isn't a new place. I stopped the car and looked directly at them. You're correct, I said calmly. This isn't your new home. This is where you're living from now on. I'm out. They stood completely still. Liam finally spoke. Wait, what are you saying? You can't just... I already have, I interrupted. Joshua swapped out the locks at my apartment while we were driving here. You're not going back. After over 2 years, they had no words, but I still wasn't done. Go talk to Mom and Dad, I said. This is your spot now. They can deal with you instead of me. I stepped out and began moving their bag. As I set the final suitcase on the steps, something unexpected occurred. My mother gently pulled me aside and spoke in a hushed voice. Grayson, we need to chat. There's something you don't know. Her expression was unusually tense. Before you go, she added, I have to explain something. I glanced toward Liam and Julia, still frozen by the car, visibly confused. I didn't want more problems, but the seriousness in her tone caught me. What's going on? I asked quietly. She paused, then said, we didn't send them away just because of their age. There were bigger reasons. Reasons? I asked. Like what? They told me you kicked them out for turning 19. She shook her head. They didn't tell the truth. Let me explain. I crossed my arms. Nope. And I've been covering their bills for 2 years straight. So yeah, go ahead and explain now. She nervously looked at the front door and lowered her voice. They were a major problem at home, Grayson. Not just being lazy, Liam got caught taking money from your dad's work, and Julia was sneaking unknown guests in at night. Your father almost called the police on Liam. I blinked, shocked. Seriously? They never mentioned any of this. Of course they didn't, she said with a deep sigh. They've always relied on you to clean up their chaos. You've always been the backup. And honestly, we let it happen. We assumed you'd handle it, like always. I clenched my teeth, feeling hurt and furious. I had tolerated so much nonsense, damaged furniture, people I didn't know crashing at my place, bills through the roof, and now I discover they were just as bad before. if not worse, and my own parents dumped them on me without any warning. He stole from Dad? I asked again, still trying to process. She nodded slowly. Liam claimed it was just borrowing, said he'd repay it, but never did. And Julia, well, there were several nights when strange people came knocking, looking for her. Great. So they weren't just lazy, they were reckless too. No wonder they treated my place like a motel. I took a deep breath. Why didn't you just tell me all this before? I could have handled things very differently. Mom looked ashamed. I honestly hoped they'd behave better with you. I really thought maybe you could guide them. Well, you were wrong, I said, shaking my head. I was past my limit now. All those months I kept giving them another chance. It was all a waste. I turned and headed back toward the car. Liam was leaning against the front, clearly upset. Julia stood beside him, arms folded, giving me a cold glare like I had ruined her plans. This is garbage, Liam grumbled. We can't stay here. Mom and Dad don't even want us around. I let out a dry laugh. Gee, wonder why. Maybe because you stole from Dad. And Julia let a parade of strangers into their house. Their faces froze in shock. Julia stumbled over her words. How did you? Mom just explained everything. I cut her off. You both lied to me for years, and now you want to act like I'm the villain? I looked them both in the eye. You're lucky I didn't kick you out way earlier. Liam's cheeks turned bright with anger. This isn't okay, he said. You don't understand what it was like staying with them. Dad was always breathing down my neck. I didn't get a say. Yes, you did, I fired back. You had the option to turn things around, but instead, you dragged your problems into my space. Well, I'm finished being your safety net. I could see the fear growing in his eyes. Julia turned to our mother, hoping for support, but Mom simply shook her head. Don't look at me, she replied. Grayson's right. It's time you both take charge of your own lives. Liam tried once more. Grayson, come on, we're related. You can't leave us like this. I stared him straight in the face. People who care about each other don't treat one another like this. You've been using me forever. So no, I'm not walking away. I'm finally drawing the line. With that, I climbed into my vehicle and drove off, leaving them beside their luggage. For the first time in 2.5 years, I felt like I could breathe again. But as I pulled away, my phone buzzed. Joshua had messaged me. Yo, man, I swapped the locks. Something's up. Hit me back. Something's wrong? Just when I thought things couldn't get any crazier. After leaving my parents' house, I pulled into an empty lot and called Joshua. He picked up right away. Hey, Grayson, he said. We've got a situation. Seriously? I sighed. What now? The new locks didn't fit? No, they're fine, he replied. But I wasn't alone at your place. One of the neighbors spotted me switching the locks and called the police. They assumed I was breaking in. You're messing with me. Nope. I explained everything and showed them your permission form. The cops were cool once they saw that. But they left you a note. I rubbed my forehead. What kind of note? They said someone already tried to go inside your place today. I paused. Someone? You mean Liam or Julia? Nope. A stranger. Said he'd been staying there. Apparently your sister let him crash for a bit a few weeks back. My heart started racing. You're telling me some random person was living in my apartment and I didn't know? Yup. Police removed him though. But get this, he left behind a bunch of stuff. Old clothes, a cracked laptop, and a few envelopes. Envelopes, I asked. Yeah, one of them had your sister's name on it. I sat frozen. Mail addressed to her? That likely meant she'd listed my apartment as her official address. If that were true, legally removing her could be harder than I expected. I muttered, did the officers say anything else? They said you should reach out. Also, check your lease contract. If someone's listed your place as their legal home, there could be legal steps involved. Perfect. Just when I thought everything was finally finished, another mess came crashing in. I thanked Joshua and ended the call. My head was spinning. How long had Julia been doing this? And how had I missed it? When I got back to my place, everything was quiet. No loud music, no dirty dishes everywhere, no strangers lying on the furniture. For the first time in years, it was peaceful, but that calm brought new problems I had to face. In the following days, I started handling everything. I called the local police again to make sure the intruder was really gone. Then I contacted a lawyer to find out how to handle Julia's use of my address. Thankfully, the lawyer said that since I could prove she hadn't paid for anything, I was in a strong legal position. Still, I had to deliver a formal eviction notice, just to be completely safe. The last shock came when I spotted an envelope in the pile of trash Joshua had talked about. It had my name on it, written by Julia. Inside was a handwritten message. Grayson, I know I really messed everything up. I didn't expect things to go this badly. I'm sorry for all of it. I'll sort my life out. Thank you for dealing with me for this long. Julia, for a brief moment, I didn't know how to react. One part of me was still upset, but another part felt like I could breathe easier. Maybe, just maybe, this was finally the lesson they needed. It's been a few weeks now, My apartment feels like it belongs to me again. No more surprise guests. No more loud nights. No more emotional stress. I have no clue what's next for Liam or Julia, but it's not my job to worry anymore. I've done enough. And honestly, it feels great to finally take care of myself. Follow-up update. Hello, everyone. Thanks for all the feedback and kind replies to my last story. I assumed the chaos was behind me, but of course, life threw a few more curveballs. After the new locks were installed, Joshua gave me a ring. Apparently, someone in the building noticed him changing them and thought a break-in was happening, so they contacted the police. Not a huge deal until I discovered that some complete stranger had actually been living in my home. Turns out, Julia had let this guy stay there without my knowledge for weeks. He even tried to re-enter the apartment after the locks were switched. Thankfully, the officers made him leave. Still, seriously? And if that wasn't enough, I found out Julia had listed my address as her legal home. That meant I had to file proper legal paperwork to officially remove her, just to protect myself. At least that part's done now. What really caught me off guard? I found another letter in the garbage from Julia. In it, she apologized and admitted she had caused a mess. I wasn't expecting her to own up to anything. To be fair, I still don't fully trust her, but maybe this time they'll start fixing their lives. For now, my apartment is calm. I'm not covering anyone else's costs, just mine. It's strange living without daily drama, but honestly, I think I'm starting to enjoy the peace. Thanks again, Reddit. You were all right. Sometimes, even when it's painful, you have to step away from family to save yourself.